share your screen
will
and then
share my screen.
walk us through.
Okay, here it is. So what I built kind of a directory where I have podcast and interview guests, and I will match them on the, my platform. And so the first thing where I struggle now is that I have a long registration, a registration with a lot of fields, and I have to minimize me here. And yeah, I built something like this that I, one moment. Yeah, I have the flow that I create the guest profile. And yeah, first I set the value that the button shows that it's waiting or it's working. Then I have the record that's working. So here I had last time 7 fields, and that was too much because there was an error. But now I have only the 4, and that is working. So I have in the data collection the record for this item. And after that, I would like to update this record with the other informations in my registration form. And yeah, Cora, you had a screen or sent me a screenshot where I set the data collection to my data collection. Then I had the ID and the new record ID, which I have from this flow. And after that, I would like to map all my other fields on here. And now I only have one field just for testing. But yeah, actually, this is not working. And so, yeah, also I didn't put the other fields here inside.
Yeah,
and look, now I'm, yeah.
You see it, Dorian? I can tell you right away what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, on that first field where you have the ID and you have the new value.
Yeah.
Right now you have new record ID, passing it as just straight text. That actually needs to change from text to from variable.
Okay.
And then in the variable name, put the new record ID in there.
Okay. This one.
Yeah, and just copy that and paste it in there. And then that should be all.
I do that all the time on accident. Like I'm typing a variable name, but I forget to switch it to variable. And then I like troubleshoot everything and it comes back and that's the problem. Like I literally do that every third time I make a
okay. So it's yeah, easy. It seems to be easy.
Yeah, do you want to try it and we can confirm that it's working?
Okay. So yeah, now it's saved. All right. So I can go here and go there. Just plus just test. And an image.
This looks great, by the way, Jan.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, then I can here. Yeah, the test is here. And the bio, yes, it's test as bio. All right, perfect.
Nice.
So that's working. Perfect.
Okay, great. So you can add more fields. Just a heads up.
Exactly.
I think the issue isn't necessarily with like 7. It's kind of like how the JSON is stored. So I believe you may also run into that with the update action, right? It's also, you could hit a limit on that. Okay, so just be mindful of that. Maybe set each one and test it so that they don't get all wiped out.
I can only have 7 updates here in this, 7 fields in the update as well, right?
Yeah, and it sometimes it's 6 and sometimes it's 8 because it's not actually the number of fields. It's like the size of the information it's sending. So it's like a little different, but yeah, if you ever, if it's working now. So if you add a bunch of fields and it stops working, just remove a couple and you can chain that update record. You can chain 1 million of those together and you always use that same variable new record ID.
This one. Okay. Yeah. So I can put more on that. Yeah. All right. Perfect. Cool. And so that this is fixed, we come to the next issue I have. So I used the SaaS template from Starter template, and in this there is the filter that all the customers are only shown for the logged in company. So that makes sense. But in my case, I have a directory. So all the interview guests or all the podcasts I have, I would like to show for everybody who is logged in. And for this, I deleted the filter already in, let me have a, yes, here it is. So I have this grid list, and I have my guest card in this. And here I put the collection data from the guests and all the fields created or the sort. And here was the filter, and I deleted the filter. And after this, I have the guest card, and in this guest card, I have the data, also from this field. So actually, in my opinion, I don't have any, filter for the company. But if I'm testing it, so here, I can create some new items, and they will be shown. But if I'm logged in as another user, I can show you. Then I don't have the items here. So no items are there.
Yeah, there's a top level setting that's restricting that. And it's actually in the data collections. So on the left side, if you go to data collections,
Like
it's like this, little server icon.
Yeah.
And then let's go into the guests first. I don't know if it's in here or if it's in the companies, but click off the top left where it says collection settings.
Okay.
No, it's not here. It's in the company. So close this, and then let's go out and go to the top level. The companies one, and then go to the settings here. So you basically just need to remove guests from the child collections.
Okay.
And then now let's go refresh.
As well.
Yeah, if you don't need child collection, you can actually disable that too if you're not going to use any of that.
Yeah, there's a green toggle. Yeah, just toggle that off. Yep.
Okay, off. Yeah.
Because that's the default from the SaaS start. It's restricting all those.
Yeah, I was looking for this, I think.
And if we refresh, I believe they should work.
Refresh. And
Yeah.
And all my tests. Okay, great. And so the number is updating now as well, right?
Yeah, because all the gets were being restricted based on the child collection settings.
Okay, great. So that fixed this for me as well.
I was gonna add for the recording and everything. The reason there's two different things, like there's the filter that you try to change, and then there's this top level setting. This top level setting is like more secure. It's like on the server end, so that like it's unhackable, and it's like if you have serious data, you would use those. But personally, like most of the time, I just use the filters, because if it doesn't have to be super secure, the filters work great. But in this case, in this template, the way Mark set it up was he wanted to show that secure way to do it.
Yeah, perfect.
So with those, there's a few different options, I think, in the user restrictions when you enable that. Like, you can have access to the data if you've been invited to it. You can restrict it where, I think in this case, is that you only see the things that you've created. And things like that. So it's just, like Drew said, an additional way to make something really secure. But Jan, it's great to see how you were able to, turn that SaaS starter into, what are you working on? It's like a podcast app.
It's a directory for podcasts and interview guests.
Okay,
Yes.
excellent. Yeah, Very,
Yeah.
very great use of that.
So the next steps are more filters and a chat, a native chat in this, and yeah. So
Okay.
yeah,
You
I can
were
work
you
on it
were
now.
Yeah, you were asking about a native chat. And I was gonna suggest, I mean, you could build something. You could also, depending on kind of how far you want to take it, actually, I can send you a link for, I think we had like just a tutorial for building a very simple NFT chat, which is essentially the same steps, except you don't have to use any of the Web3 stuff. So if you wanted to build something like that you could also integrate with something. I know we have an integration and some action set up for daily.co, but do y'all know, is that just video chat or does that also include?
No,
I
that's
think our
just
actions
video?
are just video. They
Yeah,
might
it's
have a
all
way
video.
to do it, but I think we just only have video.
Okay.
I mean,
And
the chat, there's a thing called data listeners, and that basically is like what makes a chat, which is if anything in a collection changes, it updates for everyone. Like anyone who has that page open in their browser anywhere in the world, it'll update instantly just by the collection changing. So we probably have some videos on how to set those up, and there's a little more to it with chats, because you have to set up the interface and the two different participants and whatever. But ultimately, if someone types in a message and it gets stored in a database with a data listener, it'll pop up wherever it needs to for everyone. And so you can make a chat relatively, like probably easier than you might expect. It's relatively easy in Builder.
yeah, actually, I just chatted a link, Jan, to the lesson, creating NFT chat rooms. And I'm pretty sure you can skip all the stuff at the beginning and just go to the 5th step, which is how to create the chat functionality. And I think that will probably get you
Okay, great.
where you need to be on that. Okay, anything else we can help with, Jan?
Perfect. No, I think right now I can work on. So thank you
Good.
very much for your help.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. So let me see here. Did anyone else in the call have anything they want to go through? If not, I can just head to the list that I had made for the team for potential things to look at.
I've got a question, just a quick one maybe.
Oh,
So,
Jeroen, you have a
Jeroen,
question.
yes, I
Wow,
have a
we're
question,
always
yeah.
learning from you.
I can try it out, but maybe the answer is short, so then I know. I was wondering about the claims that are in there. Is that on a per session basis, or is that stored on the user level and it will be set next time when the user comes back?
It's a confusing answer. Like Dorian could probably answer this better. We had the same discussion, like where Dorian and Mark built this, and then I basically had that same question, and I was really confusing myself in the answers. Like it is session based, it is per session, but like as long as they're signed in, they can close their browser and come back, the session's still open, so it'll still persist. And then there's also like the special one that you can add to a user in the user's collection in the studio. You can manually add a claim to a user. Those basically persist, right, Dorian? They'll stay forever. Yeah.
Actually, Dorian, can you show us and just take us through an overview of it? I don't think we've done that, and that may be helpful to share with others.
Yeah, let me.
Hi, Karsh.
Screen.
Welcome to office hours.
Hello, hello. How are you
Just let
today?
us know if there's anything you
Hi.
want to go through. Dorian's going to take us through an overview of claims right now.
Sure, great. I will. Thanks.
Okay.
I just fumbled through all the claims. Like I finally understand now that I implemented it into a project. I did like all the different parts, and I was like, now I get it all. I was actually a little bit off in my understanding for sure.
Cool. Yeah, maybe then it's insightful for not only me, but everybody. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Cool. All right, so let's go over the persistent ones, the ones that Drew was talking about in the users. So if we go to data collections, go to users, and I'm just gonna manually add one. This is just a blank project I created. So in the users list, you will now see a new column called claims. And essentially when you click there, it takes you to this little special light box where this gives you a drop down list. Right now there's nothing in there. I'll go back and add one in a bit. But what happens here is if you have users where you want to have these persistent claims, then this is the mechanism to do that. What this does is assigns this claim to the user. And anytime that user signs in and a session is created, the claims that are assigned here in this area automatically get added to all the sessions that that user creates. So what that means is if the user's already signed in and you add a claim here, then they're not going to automatically get it until they sign out and sign back in. But let's go back. So on the left side, since the last release, there's this new menu called claims. And essentially in here, it's just a string. You can call it whatever you want. Like, well, I can spell. And now that you have what's a persistent claim, you can then go into the users to assign those claims to any of your users. So you can kind of use this like if you're trying to do like admin level permissions, because right now claims you can either assign them to routes and data collections. We'll be expanding it more where you can do it at the page level. We had some users requesting it at like the document levels because they want to restrict specific files based on claims. So those are all things we'll definitely consider and hopefully roll out this feature in those areas. But right now it's just routes and data collections. So like if I were to assign this claim to the user, that claim is now persistent for that user. So anytime they sign in, after I added this, that claim will automatically be added to that user, to all of that user sessions. So I mean, if they're signing in on multiple devices. There's also, I'm just gonna drop a page here just so we can get to a flow. And normally you wouldn't add it to the page, but there are two actions that got included with the release of claims. And there's this one here called add remove claims. This one is the ability for you to control, like on your executing project, when a user can add a claim to their session or remove a claim to the session. And the way this works is this actually calls a serverless function that you set up under the action types. And you can put any code you want in there. So you can check anything. You can go out to anything. Like in some use cases, like let's just say we're checking to see if this user's that signed in, let's just say they signed in with Metamask and we have a wallet address to see if they hold a specific token in their wallet. Then your serverless function would go to OpenSea or directly to a Conjure, whatever you're checking. It all happens on the back end. And part of that code, there's a specific syntax that you can put in there for adding, if it validates, add the claim. If it doesn't, remove the claim and things like that. And with this action, you can actually pass specific things. One of the things we have on here is the ability to pass a secret, because sometimes you have an API key that you need to pass to the serverless function that you already have as a secret in the project, so you can pass that information. And then you also have the ability to, sorry, this menu is like in my way. How do I move this? You also have the ability to pass arguments, and arguments is just an object, and you can do nested objects or arrays inside of it. So you can pass any type of argument. So like on the page that the user on, if you're capturing some information that your serverless function needs, you can pass it using this arguments input. If you want to access the current user information, you can have this box checked. If you need the IP address, you can do the same. And then there's also flows to run if the serverless function is successful or not successful. So that's what that one does. There's a second action that all this does is it just does a get against the current logged in user. It checks their session and it retrieves an array of all the claims that they have already. And that's just if you want to use it in the UI to validate if they have it to do something. And those are the two actions. I'm not sure, Drew, since you just implement, I don't know if there's more.
I mean, that covers, I don't know if it would make sense. I can show that serverless function because I have one made.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. 'Cause then Duran can see, what that looks like for actually
Yeah.
adding the claim to the session. And we are working on documentation. We just need to finish and get it out so that you guys can reference that.
Cool.
So this is like a done app. But one of the things, this has the token gating that Dorian was just referencing. So like this app, to be a user, you connect with MetaMask and you're signed in with your wallet, but it's actually creating a builder user. And so we go on the back end, as soon as they sign in, we go and we check if they're holding a Builder Studio Pass. And if they are, we give them a claim called Studio Pass. And the reason is it like adds features, basically. That's like what I use it for in this, but you can use it for anything, because if they sign in, they get that claim, then they go to the next page. When they load that next page, it's going to know that they have the claim, and I could like use it as authentication, like show or hide a different page or whatever. But this is the session add remove custom claims that Dorian just showed. And I don't even have any of the stuff set. Like I'm not passing a secret or arguments, but I do have the current user info checked because their login ID, instead of an email, it's their wallet. That's all I need. So that's all I have. But I could just put their wallet in here if I wanted as an argument. But anyway, it uses a serverless function that I wrote called Web3 balance of for claim. And so if I looked at that function, it looks like this. This top part is the actual, like, this is the check. So this is kind of like custom. Each time you do this, the beginning is custom. This is where it connects to look into the smart contract. This is some smart contract info. And then a function that right here is checking the smart contract to see if they hold the studio pass. And then this is the part that kind of sets the claim. So if they do, so this is like on success, if they do have the studio pass, I'm going to add a claim studio pass true. If they don't, it's going to be false. And then if there's any error, I'm setting studio pass to false. So either way, when they come out of this, it's going to have one or the other, true or false. And so when you first start a serverless function, it comes with this part like pre-filled out. And so what I ended up doing is first I added an NPM package for Web3.js because I needed it. And then I kept this. Let's see, I just basically probably added this here. Or maybe here I took the wallet address from the variable. So there's like this system arguments current user. That was because I checked the user. So there's all these specific things in here that we need to document because it's kind of a lot, but that's how it works. Is it took in my user, checked their wallet, and then used Web3.js up here against the contract. And basically the important part, like I said, is just that claim studio pass, true or false. And you can return like 17 claims in one serverless function if you want. You can true and false a bunch of them, it doesn't matter. But in the end, when it finishes, it just runs this flow, which in my case sets the claims to the root as a variable, just because that's how I'm using it. But a lot of the times you wouldn't even need to do that. You would just set the claim and then it's set. And then the next time they come to a page, you use it for something else.
Yeah. Cool. Cool. Yeah, good to see how a serverless function works as well. Yep.
Yeah, there's so much in serverless functions. I feel like that's something I'm still learning, but there's so much you can do in there. And I almost never use them, but now that I'm starting to see this stuff, I'm like, oh, you can really, there's a lot of uses for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and Jerome, as you're building that serverless function, because right now we don't have the docs up yet, you can always just chat me and I can chat you like the syntax for referencing any arguments that you're passing or secrets or the current user stuff, and also the syntax for adding the claim. Because it's literally just two properties. It's claim, the value, which is a string, and then claim status, which is Boolean true or false.
Nice. Well, I'll give it a try, and as soon as I have questions, I'll notify you. Yep. Thanks for explaining.
Yeah. And Drew,
Thanks, Jeroen.
Fraser
got-
asks if
Yeah.
you can show the process of creating a new serverless function.
And Jan has a question as well, so we'll pick up with Jan after.
Yeah. So to create a new serverless function, you're going to like make it's similar to making a custom action, except normally you'd make an action type and an action type function. The serverless are only action type functions. So you can come right in here to functions, and when you click new, give it a name like normal, but just check this server side box, and then you basically just get a different like interface here, like a different menu. So just the name and properties, the regular ones have some other stuff. And then when you come to JavaScript, you have methods, like tab, secrets if you want to add a secret, package dependencies, which this is like all of NPM. So I used Web3 in that last one, but like you can search and you can see it's like going through NPM. You can get any package you want. And then the JavaScript here. And what this has by default is like enough to, I mean, I guess this is like basically a hello world. It's like enough to get everything you need done. So you don't delete this, you actually add stuff before or after this and then use this, because ultimately this is how it's going to exit the function with a result, for example. So it's, yeah, it's a little more like you kind of have to know more until we get a better document, I guess. And I don't know if there's documents on this part. There's probably not really.
No,
right?
we never created them, but we need to.
We will. Yeah. It's hard to explain more. Even this, I would have to like sit and remember and like figure it out. Like I don't actually know it that well personally. So
Yeah, and then one key thing that's different on the serverless functions here, so you do have to remember to hit that publish button at the bottom.
oh right, yeah. So you can save JavaScript like normal, but until you publish, it's
It
not
won't
going
be
to like
fine.
work. And also every time you publish like from your whole project, from like development to production, it's going to republish this. It's actually creating, well, you probably know how to explain this better than me, Dorian. It's like creating its own instance on Azure.
It is, yeah. It's just using Azure functions, and for every deployment, it creates a separate instance of it. That way you can continue to make changes and test things in development without affecting your other deployments.
Hopefully that covers it. I mean, that's not super comprehensive, but that's what
No,
it
that's
looks
pretty
like.
good. Can you tell me what it looks like when you make an error? Like how does a server-side error show up?
I don't know if I could show that exactly because it's on the server, so it's not going to return anything. But like in this thing, like where you add remove claims, like we have a thing built in for an error. So like that's how I'd handle in that case. If you're doing your own serverless function, I mean, if you're going to return something, so I guess you could return an error. You know, like if the thing that I just created had a response in it. So say that you called to something and the response was an error, you can make this say the error, like the status would be an error status and the response, the body could be like the error message. You could do that and it would work. You'd get the error back and kind of have to handle it on your own. If you did this and like there was an actual like bug in this code or like an error and it didn't return this, I'm actually not sure what happens.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, right now we don't have any of that exposed. It's definitely something that I've thought about trying to figure out, you know, how do we get that all exposed, but it's definitely something we want to do. But in the meantime, if you do run through that, chat me and I can help you. Yeah.
Excellent. Jan, did you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question for the to the claims. It's more for the practical use case. So in my case, I will have so you said it's for admin roles. In my case, I have on my directory basic accounts and pro accounts. Is this a use case where I should use claims too, or for what do I use claims?
You
Actually.
might be able to. So it depends on exactly what's going on. And we like the example of giving admin roles, but it's it's not technically built for that. That's just like a way you can use it. So if your pro account is something where like you would be marking each user as pro manually, and you can just go in the user database and mark them, then claims would be perfect. If it's something where they're signing up and they're getting pro access in a different way, I would not use claims for that. Probably, I would probably just like have a column in their table called pro that you can update with a 1 or 0 or something like that, and then use logic on the front end to handle it. The reason is you can't. There's like that persistent claim that lasts forever when you manually type it into the users table, and then there's the session-based claims, which is what you're like programmatic. Like the thing I just showed was creating a session-based claim automatically. Those don't last forever. So basically every time they'd sign in, you have to check something to give them that claim. So if you had pro users, in theory, you could have a long list of pro users stored in an array, like all their user IDs, and you could say, is this user in this array? And you could use a claim. You could get it done with a claim, but that's not like the most efficient way to do it. It's sort of like a weird way to use claims. So
Okay.
yeah, I think like, I mean, for us, for example, like in the Builder Studio, we have pro users. We don't use claims for that. We just handle everything. It's you know, they have like a, I don't even know what you call it, Dorian, but it's like in Stripe, they're like a pro user. They have like a subscription. So we like check if they have a subscription and then do different things if they do or don't.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Great. Okay. Okay, so let me see here. I don't think that the rest of the people are in the call, so I'm just going to ask a few questions and then we can wrap unless anyone has something they want to go through. And then before I forget, when I was introducing the Builder team members, I forgot to mention Felicia. She's incredible. Her and I do the beastly work of testing Builder for releases. And so, yeah, Felicia's amazing, and she's a part of our team as well. So, hey, Felicia. All right, so we had a question from Lofkar in the Elements channel, and he was asking, what does the visible width property do on the text area element, the multi-line text area element? Visible width property. Talk to me.
Do you know, Dorian?
Oh,
Let's find out.
I was gonna say, like, yeah, we could look at it and find out. I actually don't know exactly what that does.
I'm like, I don't know. What element? Text?
multi-line,
the-
yeah.
This
No,
Text
yeah,
area
yeah, that
multi-line.
one,
Yeah.
Because I think the style is gonna override it anyways, right?
I think actually that it's gonna be like older HTML on those kind of multi-line text elements. You would set like the height or like the width and like number of characters. There's different things you can set that modern times you just do it all with CSS and you don't really use those anymore. I bet that's what it's going to be.
Yeah,
Like that might be 200 characters even.
it is. It
You know,
is.
yeah, it's something.
So it allows you to control it, but we have a default primary style class that overrides it. So that's why it appears to not actually work. 1 second, let me close these doors.
Okay, should we just remove that
We could
property or?
remove it. Yeah, it's like it's so uncommon. I mean, technically someone might have a use for it, but in that case, they could actually just go to the JSON and add it as an attribute, just like other stuff.
Like it's useful. It's setting an attribute, same as like the number of lines visible. So it's definitely useful. The users just will need to remember that the default style class that comes with this element overrides the width. So you can either need to do an unset like I did or just delete it.
And technically you can do character width in CSS. There's a, like, you know, normally you'd say something is PX or %. There's one called CH. So if you wanted it to be 200 characters wide, you just do 200 CH. So you really don't technically need it, but
yeah,
it works.
it's just at an attribute level setting instead of a style class.
Yeah,
but the style class will override it.
You okay? Cool.
So hopefully that helped.
Yeah. All right. So I think the other thing that we had was from Dudson, but I think Drew's helping him in the Discord.
We can mention that
Um,
real quick if you want. Like I can just say that real quick, just so people are aware. Because I think what's
Sure.
happening, they didn't confirm, but it's a specific thing that will be a gotcha for people.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about it. Take it from the top.
So basically, what they're asking is they're saying like they're setting display flex, and then when they run their app, they're seeing all the styles, but they're not seeing that display style. It just doesn't exist when they inspect. And obviously it's not showing as flex because it's going to default to display block. And I've run into this before and like just racked my brain and been really confused. But it turned out that what's happening is if you use the actions element hide completely and element show to hide and show things, what they actually do is the hide adds a CSS inline style of display none, and the show removes the display property from inline styles completely. And it's not intuitive to think that. You would think that if it's display flex and you hide it and then you show it, it's going to come back as flex. It actually comes back with no display property when you show it. So the way to get around it is you have to put the display flex inside of a class. And when it's in a class, you hide it and the display none inline overrides the class. And then when you remove the display from inline, it's going to revert back to whatever's in the class.
Okay. Thank you. That's super helpful. Okay, so I'll chat Dudson on that one. And then Dominic, I don't think he's in the call, but he just wanted to walk through some of the stuff that's different from Chrome extensions, some of the changes that we had to make to the actions. He was saying that flows don't work on extensions like they used to, that before on page load, he would nest the flows and it would be fine. And now it doesn't seem to read it. I don't know what he means by that. But Dorian, if you read what he's trying to say there, is there anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, I think you could send them the updated, what was it, that lesson that we updated?
Mhm.
I think it is reading it, but he probably thinks it's not running because it's not setting the value. And I'm sure it has to do with get HTML value from tag, because we changed the way that works. Because before we used to just always return the top found record, and now we expanded it where it actually returns an array of objects of all the records that are, or all the tags that are found. That way the user can now get all of them instead of just the first one. But by making that change, they have to change the way they're setting the value as a display, because it's no longer just, the straight variable name. Now it requires a path where you need to target the specific object. So if you want the top one, you start with 0 dot attributes dot the name of the attribute that you're returning. And that's the lesson you updated where you put the screenshots and stuff. So I think if he just references that, he'll figure out why it's not working anymore. But there were no changes to the page load. All that stayed the same.
Okay. All right. So I will chat that to him. Okay. Well, I think that's it. That was all the stuff that was on my list. Does anyone need help with anything else? Chat now or hold your peace until next Thursday. All right. I think that's it. We'll call it. Thank you all so much for coming today and making another great session. Anything that you need, chat us in the Discord. Otherwise, we'll see you next Thursday. And I hope you all have a wonderful week. Thanks for coming to hang. Ciao.